بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. In yesterday's lesson we went over section 1, 2 and 3, and we looked at the connection between sections 1 and 3, and then also the connection of section 2 within itself. And if we could remember, it was more of a linear connection, right? It was more like a linear correlation where like the first point of section 1 related to the first point in section 2, and so forth. The second point related to the second point, the third point related to the third. So it was more of a linear connection then. Okay? And in section 2 it was basically the same thing over again. There were the 4 or so ayats which was in the summary, and then it was another linear connection between each ayat and its explanatory ayat in the detail section. So today we're going to go back over section 1, looking at it from a different angle now. As I told you all yesterday also, that section 1 was also connected to section 8, which is also we call lecture 4. Hope everybody don't get confused with all the numbers, right? And that formed like a ring. And I said yesterday the connection between 1 and section 1 and 3, meaning lecture 1 and 2, which is also called lecture 1 and 2, 3, so yeah, lecture 1 and 2, sorry. Those form a ring also. And section 2, which is the story, that has a ring basically with that linear connection it had yesterday. So it's like section 1 and 2 are encircling, sorry, section 1 and 3 are encircling section 2. Okay, like the lecture 1, then there's the story, then there's lecture 2, and the story falls in between, and they're like encircling it. Okay, but then I also said, so that's one big circle with the first lecture with the fourth lecture at the end forms one big circle. Then we have another small circle there right at the beginning with the first 3 sections encompassing one another, right? 1 and 3 encompassing number 2. And as I said, in longer surahs we find circles inside of circles. So we're going to look back at section 1 now and see the ring composition within inside section 1 itself. Okay, so you see how much connections there are just in one surah. Okay, so this is like the 4th time we're going over section 1. We went over it once in the tafsir itself, where we went ayat by ayat and we listened to the tafsir. We went over it a second time when we showed its connection to the ending. We went over it a 3rd time yesterday when we showed its connection with the lecture 2. Now we're going over it a 4th time where we're going to show the connection within itself. Okay? So let's start. It begins with the first ayah, Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. And it's connected to the 8th ayat, which is the last ayat of the same section. Okay? Wa inna laja'iluna ma 'alayha sa'idan juruza. Okay? Translation of the first ayah, all praises be to Allah who revealed upon his servant a book. Wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja, and he created no crookedness in it. I marked here la iwaja. There's no crookedness in it. Okay, there's an Arabic saying, right? I think it's awajatul arad. When the earth or when the land is, where you can say, bumpy and rocky. Okay, so that's where that word iwaj comes from, which means crookedness. Okay, now when we read the last ayah of that same section, Allah says in that ayah, وَإِنَّا لَجَعِلُونَ, and verily we will make ma alayha, whatever is upon the earth, sa'idan juruza. Okay, a land which is completely plain, flat. Okay, so we see there's a correlation in meaning between la iwaj and juruz. Okay? Something without crookedness, something which is completely straight. And then Allah says in the last ayah that we're going to make the earth completely flat. Okay, so the Quran is straight and flat, basically in a straight line. It's a straight Quran, no crookedness in it. And on the day of judgment, the same earth will become flat and straight again. Okay, there'll be nothing on the earth. So this is more like a correlation in meaning within the words between iwaja and juruza. And I don't know if you all noticed throughout the whole tafsir of the ayah, but all the ayahs in Surah Kahf are ending with the dozabar, as you all will call it, mansub halat. Okay, as the ulama will call it. Right. All right. So let's go on to now ayat number 2, and it also correlates and connects with ayat number 7. Okay, ayat number 2 here is قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا. That it is a straight book, قيما, so that it can warn of the severe torment which is by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also give glad tidings to the believers who do good actions, that for them there is a good reward, ajran hasana. And if you look at number 7, ayat number 7, okay, sorry, right. Inna ja'alna ma'ala al-ardi zinatan laha linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala. Okay, and we have made whatever is on the earth an adornment for it, so that we may test that which of them is best, or which one is better in doing actions. Okay, so we see the correlation between the Quran being a guidance. It will warn those people of a bad torment coming ahead, and it will also give glad tidings to those who do good deeds. Glad tidings of what? Ajran hasana. And those same type of words come back in the ayah number 7, that to test who is ahsanu amala, right? The hasan and ahsan, same type of words from the same type of root letters, has, sin, noon. Also the meaning also connects, that Allah is going to test us in this worldly life, right? That the worldly life is a test. That what ayat number 7 is telling us. And to pass this test, He's also given us the Quran as the guidance. Because the Quran will warn us from doing wrong, and will also give us glad tidings for doing good. So in ayat number 2 we have Quran as a guidance. In ayat number 7 we have that this worldly life is a test. So we see a connection there. Alright? Then we move on to ayah number 3 and ayah number 6. Ayah number 3 says what? Makithina fihi abada. They will remain in it forever, meaning in this bliss. The mu'mineen who do good deeds, they will remain in bliss in Jannah forever. Okay? And what does ayah number 6 say? It talks about the worry, the sorrow of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاكِعٌ نَفْسَكَ. Right? You may kill yourself out of grief. عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ, behind these people, or behind their denial. إِن لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا, if they do not believe, بِهَذَا الْحَدِيث, in this speech, which is the Quran, asafa, in sorrow. You might kill yourself in grief out of sorrow behind these people. So it speaks of the sorrow of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this world. And there's no doubt Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be a Jannah where makithina fihi abada, where there will be no more sorrows. So we see that there will be no sorrow ever again for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So makithina fihi abada, and فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاكِعٌ نَفْسَكَ has this type of correlation again. Right? Then we see ayah number 4. In ayah number 4, Allah says, وَيُنذِرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا. This Quran is also to warn those who said that God has taken a child, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken a child. And ayah number 5, which is right after it, Allah says in that ayah, كَبُرَتْ كَلِمَةً تَخْرُجُ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ. What a terrible speech this is that comes out of their mouth. إِن يَقُولُونَ إِلَّا كَذِبًا. It is nothing but lies. See how they connect there again is? Ayah number 4 says, they say that Allah is taking a child. Ayah 5 immediately says what? That there's no such thing. This is just terrible speech from their side, and that this is a complete lie. Okay? So here we see 1 connects to 8, 2 connects to 7, 3 connects to 6, 4 connects to 5. But if you notice something here, there was one piece in ayah number 5 that didn't connect with anything. مَا لَهُم مِّنْ عِلْمٍ وَلَا لِآبَائِهِمْ. That they have no knowledge, neither did their forefathers have any knowledge. Okay, this seems to be like a... And when we do this, going through the whole of Surah Kahf, we can see that after the ring structure between a section, there will be some ayahs that will just stick out at you. I mean, it just seem like, what you can say, out of place, but they're not out of place. They're there to raise awareness. And the same thing, Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdil kitab. Right? All praise be to Allah who has revealed the book. Okay? So, if we look at these 2 ayat, Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihil kitab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who revealed the kitab. What does the kitab have? What does the Quran have? Guidance, knowledge, everything that one needs to be on the right path. But what happens? مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ وَلَا لِآبَائِهِمْ. They don't have knowledge, nor do their forefathers had any knowledge. Why do people run astray basically in life? It's because they just follow what came from above. Right? They were born in a certain family, and they just follow the norms of the family. Even after they begin to gain conscience and understanding, they don't study what life is about. Why am I here? Who's my creator? They don't study these important things. All most human beings do is they follow blindly aba'ihim, their forefathers. Whatever their forefathers were doing, they just inherit it and carry along. But Allah says we had revealed a book. This Qur'an was here. This miraculous Qur'an, my speech, is here amongst you, so you could have gained some sort of knowledge from it, understanding and guidance from it. That's the first thing Allah says in the Qur'an in Surah Baqarah, in it, Hudal lil Muttaqeen, that this is a guidance. Right? So we can see that these 2 ayah also correspond, these 2 parts of ayahs that seem to be not part of the whole correlation that I just made. And we find a lesson within these 2 ayahs also. Right? That on one side we have the book, the kitab, the Quran as a means of guidance, and on the other side people adopt another means of misguidance, which is just following their forefathers. And their forefathers were on kufr, so they are on kufr. If their forefathers are on iman, they are on iman. Right? But to find the real reality of iman, real appreciation, Allah says the kitab is here. Right? So we see how miraculous the Quran is right now. We've gone over this ayah 4 times, this section 4 times. And it has like 4 different connections. One, we read it in tafsir. Okay? Ayah by ayah by ayah by ayah. We investigated each ayah and what it means. That made sense to us. Then we went over this same section. We connected it to the last section of the same whole surah. It connected there very well. Again. Then we read it a 3rd time. We connected it to section 3, which was lecture 2. It connected there again. And then today we have read it for the 4th time, and it connects and correlates within itself again. Right? Now tell me which human being on earth has the ability to speak like this. Right? When a man does a bayan, and he begins to speak his bayan out, and his speech out, and he gives a talk, whether he's a politician, whether he's a linguistic person, whether he's a person who studies the arts of linguistics at university, no matter who it is on the face of the earth, no one can produce a speech like this, where he does a 20-30 minute speech, and the beginning of his speech correlates to the end. Right? Point 1 of his speech correlates with point 3. Then point 1 of his speech correlates within itself. Then the point 1 and the speech itself has so much deeper meaning inside of it. Okay? Like how when we did the tafsir, when we began at the 1st of Ramadan, when we read Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja, and we investigated that Allah is praising Himself. Why? The proof of praising Himself is because we have to praise Allah is because He has revealed this kitab. He has not created crookedness in it. Why is there no crookedness? What the investigation of the word iwaj, what is the meaning of it? Why Allah is saying it has no crookedness in it, and so forth. All of that knowledge is already in there, right? In those words. And on top of that, there's connection with the last section, there's connection with section 3, there's connection again within itself. And it's like layers of knowledge on top of layers of knowledge on top of layers of knowledge, all referring to one part of this surah. And this is only one surah, or one part of a surah that we've gone over 4 times. And like this, we're going to go over section 2, inshallah, on Saturday. After Isha, inshallah, brothers, right? Isha might be 7:30, right? 7:35 on Saturday. So it'll be 7:35, Isha Salat. All those listening at home are encouraged to make an effort to come. The barakat of the majlis is different from just listening to it online, right? This is where the angels descend. This is where they're going to ask for forgiveness. That's the whole reason of having today's sitting too on Laylatul Ja'iza, is that inshallah the angels will find us in a majlis, in a sitting of ilm and knowledge, and make dua maghfirah for us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the sitting of all the brothers throughout the month. May Allah accept whatever little effort we made. If I've made any mistakes, may Allah forgive me. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.